we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic, and it's self-evident.
Live from downtown Detroit, it's No BS Newshour with my main man,
Na. No bullshit!
This is just it, breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
The wrap-up smear. Nancy Pelosi in 2017 there telling you about the wrap-up smear. And why is that important?
That's what comes around goes around.
Yeah, well, no. She was basically telling you what they were up to.
Yeah.
Because what came out this week, that nobody in the media, and this whole show's what the fuck is wrong with the media? You are culpable in a wrap-up smear. She explained how it works. You come up with some bullshit, you plan it to the press. Once the press publishes it, you point to the press and go, see, it's true. It's true.
It's validation. Yep.
Even though we set it up. And most of the big media did it, and it was the big Russian hoax. It was. I don't care if you're left or right. You got to be pissed about what they've done to us and what they've done to this country. The Durham report, 4 years in the making, noted that the FBI received intelligence in 2016 that Hillary Clinton approved a plan to smear Donald Trump by stirring up a fake scandal claiming interference with and by the Russian security services, specifically one that involved tying him to Putin and the Russians, hacking of the DNC's emails.
Wow.
The reason she wanted to do that was to distract the public from her own email deletion and server scandal, because it was hurting her. And in this report, it says they stopped investigating her 4 months before the election. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And they informed her each step of the way, called defensive intelligence. So Hillary might know what was going on against her. They offered no such thing to Trump. In fact, President Obama, Vice President Biden, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, FBI Director James Comey were personally briefed on Clinton's plans by then Director of the CIA, John Brennan. The Clinton plan, as it was known, was obtained by the FBI simultaneously as it was relying on that famous Steele dossier, which is a discredited report of lurid details of Trump and hookers urinating on him in Moscow. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was all fake. All of that was fake, which the FBI knew was being funded and promoted by Clinton in order and successfully to get spying subpoenas from the FISA court on 4 of Trump's campaign people, including Manafort and Papadopoulos.
Yeah.
Okay. Durham quotes information from a meeting between the dossier's author, former British intelligence agent Christopher Steele, who, and he notes, I read the fucking thing. It's insane. The report notes they just made shit up.
Yeah.
Just
The
totally
dossier,
made.
yeah.
They went on YouTube and found Russian experts who pretended like they were subsources. This is how fucking ludicrous this whole thing was. And Steele spoke with FBI agents as well as texts between FBI officials who said this fucking thing's thin. I don't know. FBI officials were encouraged to stop writing, putting, in memoriam their doubts about this thing. Or the fact that they knew that the evidence was connected to Clinton. It was all fake. And Clinton's camp pushed this fakery to the media and to the feds. And if you look back, you read this report, the media's pretending they got it from somebody important, some Western intelligence official, when it was fucking Steele, the guy who was making it up.
Yeah.
And getting something from the FBI officials who knew it was fake and was pushing it out there. And the New York Times still hasn't retracted shit that even the FBI said was fake. Specifically, in 2017, captured communications between Trump campaign officials and Russian intelligence officers. Okay? So, we got a little circle of Trump haters. They lied to you on one side, you on the left that believe Rachel Maddow, who had to have known.
You know, her defense was really interesting, too. I was trying to read, as much as I can about the coverage of it.
Yep.
And her defense was basically like, which was also very kind of a snobby answer, but which what else do you expect? She's like, well, they tried to get 2 people on it. Both were acquitted, and all they got was a minor misdemeanor on a guy who sent an email. And my response is, just because you legally can't find someone guilty doesn't mean it's okay. Doesn't mean it's unethical. Doesn't mean it's shitty. Doesn't mean it's horseshit.
Well, the FBI agreed with the findings that they went outside the road standards and the law.
Yeah.
The reason nobody's convicted is that's the way the government works.
Yeah.
Look at Flint.
Yeah.
Nobody did a day. Nobody in Detroit is going to see the courtroom on this poison they put in the grounds on these demolitions.
Yeah, 'cause you can't
We
get a
all know
conviction.
this.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Nobody's investigating Dana Nessel for her vacation or Gretchen Whitman for her airplane. Or the gaggle, the 2 former speakers of the House.
Yeah.
And what really looks like your corruption deals, your land deals, your bullshit. And we're all sitting here picking sides. They censored the right and the left bullied everybody else. And then you come to find out there were no Russian bots, that the Hunter laptop was real, right? And Rachel Maddow's like, what? Doesn't matter if I bullshitted you forever, if we all turned on each other, if nobody believes in the foundational system of self-government.
Yeah, very dismissive of it.
Fuck off.
You wonder why there's no public trust, Charlie. I mean, I think people know that they have no means of or degree of confidence in what they hear or what they're being told by their quote unquote elected officials. It's all performative. Yeah. It's all and they're ganking the public as a result.
And then, let's not forget what the right did. What do you mean fake election? What do you mean millions of ballots? What do you mean? Didn't Fox just settle with Dominion? Oh, we don't want to go there. Fuck.
It's everybody, Charlie.
Where can you turn? To the No Bullshit News Hour. Not afraid. We do our work, and we got stuff. Oh, we got stuff.
And no one will ever say,
you are fake news.
Fake news. Can you imagine? Okay, Trump, not a big fan. Y'all know that. I like some foreign policy. His domestic policy, his financial policy was shit. That's the root cause of the massive inflation, right? And the tax cuts went to the rich. We all know that now. We told you that. Come on, man. Come on.
You are fake news.
Could you imagine how this shit would drive him wild?
Sure.
This is the basis of his impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're going to come to me and say he was twice impeached doesn't mean anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, the phones are lighting up. Oh, my God. I'm not answering them. I don't know how, so I'm not going to. I'm pressing them. I can't hear you. Bernie, man, get back here and help me, Bernie. Anyway, that last call was brought to you by Hall Financial. The spring buying season's here. Oh, by the way, interest rates are down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the housing stock's loosening up.
Yeah.
But they expect it to turn. Read that today.
Really?
Because I was thinking about Hall, and I'm like, what's going on?
Turn in what way? Just
well, the
spring?
Oh, yeah. Over the last a few months, sales have been down, right? And now they're ticking up again.
Yeah.
And the rates are down.
Yep.
So now's the sweet spot. So if you think you might be time to buy, the first call you need to make is to Hall Financial. They got a ton of great programs. Are they still doing the 1% down?
I believe so. Yeah, just give them a call.
With up
That's
to
the best way to
$4,000
find
in
out.
forgivable down payment assistance for qualified buyers. Yeah, call them at 866-CALL-HALL. And if you're thinking about spring or summer renovations or a second home up, fucking those neighbors
remember to
up
do
there, those
something?
neighbors.
Oh, yeah,
I gotta get a
that's
fence put in. I'm gonna take out a more than anything. If your equity, take advantage of the equity in your house now. Go to callhallfirst.com to get started for Hall's above and beyond 5-star service just for our listeners. 866-CALL-HALL.
Beautiful.
I think Luke Nowacki's coming in tonight.
Oh, he is?
I don't know. He's probably going to call me in the middle of the show.
Ask us to go down and let him in.
He knows I'm overreacting.
Oh, that's not the way to do it.
I know.
That's why you got to call him.
I'll come in. I'll see you.
That's not a strategy, Charlie.
It's
not
not
a
a
strategy.
strategy. I don't know what's going on. What's up with gold today? I don't know. It was up to 250. It's down to 2,000, right? Also, we had a banking crisis. Banking crisis is gone, but is it gone? I don't know.
Luke knows.
I can't spend my whole day doing this. There's actually people that sit around and think about this. He even taught me how to short the market.
He did? Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's a game I can't play.
Yeah, it's and it's very sophisticated.
Exactly.
So if I met a guy, he's got this feeling on like one of the auto companies. He wants to know how to do it, and I go, well, you need some expert advice. Don't just get in there and do it.
Jump in.
Yeah, there's 10 ways to do it.
Yeah.
First one is 2. Second one is 4. Third one is 8. 663-4748. That's the 10 ways. 248-663-4748. Sound, rational financial advice. And my favorite insurance brokers. I got my insurance quicker than I got my tabs. I still don't have my tabs, but I got my insurance in a half an hour.
Good.
Think about that. And follow up. How you doing? Let's get a drink. Want to make sure you're satisfied.
How'd you do that? Who'd you call?
Legacy Partners. That's what you get with Legacy. I really believe in this company.
They are great.
They are great.
Yeah.
They are great. 586-209-4106. They shop for you. Mm-hmm. All right? So they make their money getting the best deal for you. That's it. They're not there to gouge you. They're looking for the best price, and they've always delivered it and never pushed me into anything I don't want. That's Legacy.
Customer service, Charlie. I was saying you got to appreciate. I mean, for me, that was the thing. Like, you expect somebody to call you back. You expect them, if you're going to email you information, for them to do so. Their follow up was spot on.
See, that's Cara Dubas, ladies and gentlemen.
No, seriously.
That is true. That is 586-209-4106. Did it save you money, Mark?
Yes.
Did it save you money, Karen?
Well,
Just
I can
say
say
no.
yeah. No. I can say this because they said no. Once they brought me something different, then my agent was able to make a better deal. So ultimately, yeah, they did.
And did they get mad at you?
No, they didn't. And he said, hey, if there's anything else we can do, we're here. I mean, for me, Charlie, and I'm just saying, customer service matters. You've got people that sell a service or have a talent and their business acumen sucks. So when someone is able to have some degree of customer service and business acumen, I'm satisfied already.
Legacy Partners, 586-209-4106. Okay. Here's the big news, breaking news.
That's your cue, Mark.
Well, I can play
And
it.
do
but
not
then-
fix it in post. I'm sick of you fixing that in post.
Well, I didn't add something on the screen. I didn't want to take that. But go ahead.
As promised, imagine in those first horrifying hours after the mass murder on the Michigan State University campus, if the chief of the Lansing Police Department told the cameras that his officers had in fact responded to shots fired calls at the gunman street not 4 months earlier. Imagine if the chief told the cameras assembled from around the world that his officer did in fact drive down the street, turn around at the dead end where the gunman lived, and then drive away without ever getting out of the car, without ever knocking on a door, without ever contacting the neighbor who phoned the authorities. Can you imagine the outrage if he admitted that? Well, that's exactly what happened, according to a neighbor who called the police and the 911 dispatch call report that I have here in my hand. Now, here's the twisted and misleading statement Chief Ellery Sosby gave 3 months ago when the horror was still fresh.
I'd like to clear up just a few things, a few topics of misinformation that we have been asked about. about either the accused McRae or the address, the Lansing address on House Street in the city of Lansing. LPD has not responded to any welfare checks for Anthony McRae. There was a welfare check at the address on House Street on February 5th, but was not related to the accused. And LPD has not been called in any way to any shots fired at this address.
That's not what I have, sir. Witness, ladies and gentlemen, the fiction of modern politics, the spinning of half-truths, and the intentional misdirection of blame and responsibility until a crisis grows old and the public loses interest, hoping no one finds out. But I did. And so, in keeping with the show, where is the rest of the media? No respectable reporter I know puts up with a public official who lies to them. Consider the morning after Anthony McRae's murder rampage, a half dozen neighbors told reporters from a dozen news outlets that they'd complained multiple times to the police that McRae would wantonly fire a pistol from his back porch. McRae's house sits at the dead end of Howe Avenue next to a park where children fly kites. The neighbor who lives 3 doors down from McRae called 911 on October 23rd, 2022, describing shots fired east of the dead end where McRae's home is located. Only McRae's home. That, according to the report, which reads, quote, heard 8 shots east of the dead end. Hear 1, short delay. Heard another one, and then 6 more. The dispatcher wrote right here. A squad car arrived 10 minutes later. They drove to the dead end and turned around, said the caller, Nicole Murray, whom I reached, even though they blacked out her name. I'll find it. They never got out of the car, she said, and no, the police never contacted her, even though the police said they arrived at her house. Neighbors are incensed that they were not taken seriously, and so should you be, and I'm sorry for those whose children were killed, crippled, or just mentally scarred from being there. This is for you. I promised you I would. Had the police taken their complaints seriously, it's a very good bet that McRae would not have been able to legally buy a gun and indiscriminately murder college students. The killing of 3 and the crippling of 5 others is McRae's sin, and his alone, and may he burn in hell. But the fact that he was legally able to purchase the firearm shows a failure at every level of public safety in Ingham County. Remember, McRae was arrested 4 years ago for illegally carrying a concealed weapon, which is a 5-year felony that would have barred him from buying the gun he used to do the killing. Instead, prosecutor Carol Simeon decided to charge McRae with a misdemeanor, transporting a loaded firearm in a motorized vehicle. Problem there? McRae was riding a bicycle. It was made up. Simeon, who took a winkum, blinkum, and nod approach to gun crime in Lansing, abruptly retired last December, and you have some explaining to do. Then there's the judge who allowed McRae to thumb his nose at probation. It's safe to assume from court records, as we've discussed before on this program, that McRae was smoking pot throughout his 18-month probationary period. The judge warned McRae about it, but never sent him to the can. Drunk drivers who flunk breathalyzer tests during probation are treated more harshly than a man with an illegal semi-automatic. What's the use of more gun laws if the current gun laws aren't enforced? And that's the nasty little secret. Phony misdemeanor charges, perfunctory police response. The families of the dead were promised a rigorous investigation, but I doubt they'll get one. Another deceit of modern politics. It's there.
Those kids deserve better, Charlie. They deserve more. Their families deserve more. And the public deserves the truth.
let's do this. We put a little video together. Not a little. We put a video together about this incident and what the neighbors had to say. And I'd like to show it to you one more time just because it's not over.
How you doing? What's the word, man? You work here?
The Michigan State shooting rampage did not have to be. The gunman, Anthony McRae, was known to authorities.
You got any weapons on you or anything like that?
Yeah.
You have a weapon on you?
Yeah.
What do you have?
380.
380? Go ahead and put your hands behind your back real quick. I'm just going to detain you for a second, okay? Can you put your cigarette out?
He was arrested for carrying a concealed pistol in 2019, which would have prevented him from buying a gun. But the prosecutor agreed to a plea deal, a misdemeanor, transporting a loaded weapon in a vehicle. But McRae didn't have a car. He had a bicycle. The charge was a fabrication to push the case through the system. Ingham County, home of state government and Michigan State University, isn't serious about gun laws. The self-described progressive prosecutor has moved on. He's now a state judge. There have been 81 mass shootings in America since MSU. 81. Thoughts and prayers. And then they move on. But we refuse to move on. We want answers.
You know, this is an individual who, first of all, had just been removed from probation. We know that during the period of time that he was on probation, it was extended. We're still not clear on why that was. And he had this very recent weapons offense. We do so little to prevent people who are in that set of circumstances. I mean, somebody who... I'm sorry to pause that. We're still not clear. That's your attorney general who says, we want to know. And you didn't bother to find out. I had to bother to find out. And I had to pay for all the documents. Under Freedom of Information Act, this is of high public interest. And you did everything to hide it. I demand an investigation, and I demand that the media do more than sit at press conferences and wander around the neighborhood. It's not over. Let's fix things. Go ahead. Having mental health issues, somebody who just had been illegally possessing a gun, and look how easy it was for him to obtain a weapon, even in the wake of all that. Again, look how easy it was. Not because we don't have background checks, because we do. It's because your friends, Madam Nessel, in Ingham County, refuse to take guns seriously. Why do I appear to be more left than you? All of a sudden it's flipped on its head that gun owners, left and right, conservative people, a lot of them, want gun laws enforced because they're dangerous. And you're not going to get rid of them. You're not doing your job.
And we see what happens when they're not. Plain and simple.
Play. So we went to the Ingham County Courthouse. McRae was sentenced to transporting a firearm in a vehicle, a misdemeanor. That lesser charge allowed him to later legally purchase his murder weapon. McRae was given probation and twice blew it off. He was warned by the judge, but never spent a day in jail.
If he violates probation, you send him to jail, up to 2 years. They did nothing.
There was a welfare check at the address on House Street on February 5th, but was not related to the accused. And LPD has not been called in any way to any shots fired at this address.
We now know the frat house of Lansing politics like in any way. Well, here's a way you were. Heard 8 shots east of here, east of the dead end on Howe Avenue. That's a way. Come out of your hole. I called, you're all running. That pisses me off. Likes to play with words. A bicycle is a car. Jail is just an abstract. And gunshots aren't shots at all if cops don't write it down. But listen to the neighbors.
Police responded a whopping 134 times to this sleepy neighborhood between the night McRae was arrested for the gun and the night he went on his murder spree. McRae often fired a pistol from his back porch.
The police said there was never any calls out here, but I found out they'd been out here over 100 times in 3 years.
Oh, they've responded over there several times. I don't know if it was, because of, their problem that they had over there, but there's always been problems on that corner. I've seen, the police presence show up quite a bit in the past couple of years.
Was it over gunshots usually?
I've heard gunshots, yes.
Did you hear gunshots? You're right behind him.
Yeah. I was in the backyard one day. Scared the shit out of me. I was back there working in the yard and house.
It was when he was on probation. He was still firing that gun? Right. Oh, my. And the police were out here.
2 or 3 times I seen him come down right after that.
He shot one of the police was there.
He did?
Yeah.
While the police were here,
yeah,
you could hear him shooting?
He shoot one time, yeah.
And you were here too?
Yeah, I heard the police was in the truck. I don't know if he heard or no. I don't know if I can hear in my videos. I don't know if I can hear that shot, but yeah.
Oh, you have videos of the police here?
Yeah, I got videos, but I don't know if I can go way long back. Yeah.
So there's some videotape of the police here. It's coming down to your word and the chief, and I know the truth when I see it. Freedom of Information Act cost me $1,000. I won every call to service in the last 44 months. You know how many there were? 134.
For over here?
This house, just the houses around it only.
They're using the house, like saying there was no calls to the actual house, it was to the area. So, you know what I mean? They're using that as an excuse that wasn't for that issue. But
for the gunshots.
Obviously it was. Just nobody could pinpoint the house. So.
But I talked to a few neighbors, they're like, yeah, no, it's that house.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have to, I'm doing it for you. Happy Easter, I'll do it. That's $1,000 out of my pocket. You got this guy's name in the report? You got this house address in that report? There was a cop at the bottom of your driveway, right?
Yeah. The end of the road there.
They didn't have the address. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
They just said it was the end of the road. You got a call to the end of the road, right?
And then nobody pointed, hey, it's right back there? Well, that's what Francisco just said.
Right.
I was right here there. He was popping off.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Francisco was out there when he seen the cop and heard the gunshot, so. But no reports.
So one more time, you would hear gunshots. Everybody in the neighborhood would hear gunshots. The police would be here. So when you hear the chief of police saying, we never responded to shots fired.
I would say that's false.
They called it something else, but they responded to him popping that gun.
Of course.
So what did you think when you're watching the news and you hear the chief say, no, we didn't ever.
I know. It's like calling everybody liars.
Are you a liar?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what pissed me off about that. Like nobody even reported it. So
here's one that could have been stopped.
We found McRae's father at home. He didn't want to speak directly to camera, but he told us he didn't know his son was sick. He raised him the best he could.
Mr. McRae, did you ever let the police know that he had a weapon?
I don't know what my son had. I raised him and feed him. I didn't know he had a damn gun at all. I wasn't raising him. You do the best you can as a dad. When they leave the door, you don't know what's on their mind to do.
I know.
You know what I mean? I raised him in church. I fed him good, took care of him, I've been 3 kids in church.
But the question remains, why didn't the authorities do as best they could?
Well, what do we do next, Karen? This can't stand.
That's what I was going to ask, Charlie. So what now?
I asked you have to answer.
Well, great minds think alike. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, because we keep seeing, failures at the prosecutorial level in so many cases that, end up just repeating themselves in terms of the crime or criminal behavior. I don't know. I mean,
what are we going to do? What are we going to do with these bozos up there? The ones that didn't protect their kids, the ones that are bullshitting us, right? And hiding behind some warmer, fuzzier world
What?
That's a good question.
Well, you could be sure, now that I know, and those neighbors, you see, they got no respect.
Yeah.
They got no respect. This could have been prevented.
It's so clear those neighbors want to tell that story, too.
They did tell the story.
Only to you. I mean,
Charlie was the only one who asked.
That's what I mean.
No, a lot of us asked. Nobody went back and back and back.
Well, but that's the thing, though, Charlie. I mean, and you went and talked to the neighbors. You got the information. You asked. You checked the boxes.
A bunch of us did. A bunch of us
taking
did, but I went back a couple times, and then the stuff didn't line up. It didn't line up. Wait a minute. You went to the murderer's home 8 days before. Yeah, but it had nothing to do with him. Well, we never responded to shots fired. We all knew that, and then we quit. We quit like today. In Detroit, what did the Wayne County Prosecutor Ken Worthy's office do? They excused the pizza shooter. I'll take you back like a couple weeks. Pizza man delivers the pizza to the wrong address. The neighbors eat it. You know how it goes. Hey, man, we're all hungry. They eat it. The neighbor who ordered it finds out. I believe it was the neighbor. Apparently, they don't have witnesses. He comes over and shoots an adult man, an adult woman, and 2 kids. Yeah. And they let him go today because the witness didn't show up. Seems to me there's 4 witnesses.
Yeah, they have bullets in them.
Right?
Yeah.
You couldn't get anything more than that. Is this how lazy we are? Now he's out there?
Yeah. What's he going to do when his food gets delivered to
So
someone
when
else
it happens
again?
when it happens again, and they'll come back and somebody will say, hey, this was the guy that did A, B, and C, but he was, let go for this reason. And that's what I'm saying. It's a cycle.
Okay, and then there's a cycle. Then here's the next one. The gas station murder like a week ago.
Yeah.
The guy's, fucking welfare card runs out, and he wants his $4 of snack cakes, and they lock him in because he's not allowed to shoplift them. He gets so mad he blasts everybody in the fucking gas station. I go to that gas station. Doesn't matter if I go to that gas station. Okay, so what happened? What's the guy's record? He was on probation for what? Oh,
is that Luke?
No, Vinny limo. Stop it, Vinny. This is Ottawa calling. I'll get the limo. I'm getting the limo. The guy's on probation for a gun violation. He didn't get hit with the felony, which was felon in possession of a weapon. So what was he a felon for? Armed robbery.
Oh, wow.
He did 6 years. They waved him through. Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. This is the bullshit. Then they keep having press conferences. Look what we're doing. We're doing a holistic schematic bullshit. No, the problem is with the judges and the prosecutor.
Yeah.
I was on the Guy Gordon show on WJR yesterday talking about Lansing, and I got a bunch of amens from Detroit police. Look, no cop in Lansing should lose his or her job over this. You know why?
Oh.
Because the prosecutor said from on high, I have no interest in gun charges. So why would a cop risk his or her life, do their job, only to see him kicked the next day, waving at the cop, the perp waving at the cop from the porch with their middle finger?
I never thought that any officer should. It's more the anger of being lied to that they never responded.
And again,
that comes from the top.
Keeping with the program.
Yeah.
Where's the media? You tell me about the gunshots and the pizza guy, and then you tell me, it gets kicked, and you don't look at anything.
So how do we expect a reduction of gun violence at 50% when these type of behaviors are the norm? I mean, so how is all this working, or will it be another fudging of numbers?
Yeah, and the chief federal law enforcement, the AG, the Attorney General of the Eastern District, is like, we're going to do some outreach. Here's our plan. We're actually going to visit parolees' homes to see if they have a gun. You're supposed to be doing that. That's part of the fucking job.
That's a kind of a smooth move, telling us what you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, God.
And acting like it's new.
And then the fake-ass mayor talk about, I expect gun violence to go down, just like you expect population to grow.
Just say it and it's going to happen.
And then calling everybody a clown because they're not giving you the answer they want. It's because you stink, dude. It's a failure. The buildings aren't getting built. The crime's been going up. People are moving out. And the only thing you can point to is I got a bunch of empty buildings and all my cronies got hooked up. That's pretty much what I'm going to write in my next book. And believe me, that book's going to last just like this one. Which brings me to my next thing. A big part of this book is the death of Walt Harris, a longtime firefighter in this city. I got to know him. I would call him my friend, but I don't want to seem like I am leaning one way or another. He died in an arson fire. The guy that owned the home got sent to prison for 30 years for commissioning the arson. That's second-degree murder, man. Okay, but now, I got to just say it, Channel 4, Devin Skillion does a report. The arsonist's mother, who's got some money, who spent $300,000 trying to get the guy out, does a report that he was wrongly convicted. Now, I never saw Devin in the courtroom. I never saw Bill Proctor, the investigator that the mother hired, according to the Metro Times, who's the secondary character interviewed here. Meanwhile, no prosecutor, none of the police were ever talked to, nor was the guy who set the fire. They don't have the arson reports. But I want to go through this because this is one of the biggest murder trials since I've been back to Detroit.
And you like you said, you were there, right? You were for the whole trial?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's in this book called Detroit: An American Autopsy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through this. It's important to me. If you want to tune out, go ahead, but I wouldn't. This is the anatomy of some bullshit.
Maxine Willis loves to talk about her son. Smart, dynamic, passionate, driven, everything good except his address, which is currently the Saginaw Correctional
And his
Facility.
charge, murder.
When a person is incarcerated, the whole family is locked up.
For more than a decade, this has been Maxine's cell, the basement that she's turned into an evidence room.
Anything to do with the report.
Mario Willis is serving a 30-year sentence for second-degree murder, convicted of arranging an arson that killed a beloved Detroit firefighter.
Walter Harris, at 37, lost his life doing a job he loves.
It's been 15 years since the night Walter Harris lost his life, a night that broke the heart of the Detroit Fire Department.
The right end there. Yeah. That's when he fell through.
The central figure in the investigation was Darian Dove, a handyman Willis often hired. The night of the fire, he and a woman were using an empty house owned by Willis for a rendezvous. Dove said he started a fire with a little gasoline for them to keep warm, but he said the fire got too close to the gas can.
Pause. That's what he later said. That's not what he said at trial. So if you want to be fair in this report, what he said was he got paid $20 to light a fire so some insurance could be collected. And then he was promised a truck he never got. So you might want to say that. Go ahead.
Suddenly, the place was aflame, and he called 911. Detroit firefighters arrived and worked to extinguish the fire, but it turned to disaster when firefighter Walter Harris was killed as the ceiling collapsed on him. Harris was immensely popular, a father of 6, a 17-year veteran of the force, and the department chaplain.
And it's going to be hard to go through a day here without hearing his laugh and seeing him smile. Excuse me.
When a first responder is lost, understandably, the investigation intensifies.
Pause.
Dove says he was pressured.
It didn't intensify, Devin. What happened was it moldered, and I put a story in the newspaper that it moldered. And then the city tried to take my job and tried to take the job of the detective who was so overworked. So no, it took months. Continue.
To change his story to say it wasn't an accident. Bill Proctor is the longtime Detroit reporter who now works on innocence appeals.
I think it's criminal here that someone with a badge, someone with authority, convinced someone to lie.
Eventually, Dove did change his story. and told police Willis paid him $20 to burn the place down.
Hold up.
Why then?
Ho. That's not as I remember it. What it was, let me give you how this happened. They arrested Dove, the handyman, and he gave a confession, but there was something wrong with the Miranda rights. When they read the Miranda rights to him, they said, you have a right to an attorney, and then he said, I might need one of those, and they continued on. And then when the prosecutors were listening to the interrogation the next day, they're like, we're going to have trouble with that. Not only which judge we draw, but that's grounds for appeal, right? You violate his Miranda rights.
Clearly, yeah.
So if you want to dig and do such a story, what happened was one of the detectives, they released him. He's not in custody. He's not confined. He's not in any way bullied by the law. The detective went over there with a secret camera in his button, put his foot on the porch, and talked to him and said, remember you told me, right? Trying to get what they had already gotten, but didn't Miranda him right. There was no need to Miranda if you don't have him in custody.
Yeah, it's just conversation.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
So the story didn't change.
It's good detective
That was
work.
the original story.
Yeah.
Then the guy, once he realized once he gave the confession, he didn't get a plea deal till months afterwards. Yeah. Okay, you get what you following me?
Yeah.
Okay, so he changed his story after, like, he's figuring out what's going on. Once he went in the can, but I watched him on the stand give the story.
Should we not take him at his word when he says, look, I got paid $20 to set the place on fire? He said it. He said it, but what else has he said? Mr.
You're supposed
Dove
to
was
know.
Convinced through threat, and he has written down what the threat was. Either you give us Mario, or you go to prison for life.
Pause.
The house is gone.
He wrote that when he was in prison, as prisoners are wont to do. It went to the Court of Appeals, who rejected a new trial for Mr. Willis. The justices calling the jailhouse recant suspect.
Well, that's the end of story for me, man.
Life. The house is gone, but this is where that fire occurred back in 2008. Couple of issues here. First, Darian Dove was the one who called 911. Arsonists aren't usually the ones who call the fire department.
Pause. If you don't want the house to completely burn down, you would call.
You'll call 911.
Okay, I mean, you might mention that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's that unusual.
And Devin's the first guy I've ever seen in that lot in a suit with a pocket square. Looks great. Midnight blue against verdant green.
Good juxtaposition, yeah.
But the bigger issue, perhaps, prosecutors suggested to the jury that this was a case of insurance fraud, burning down a house in exchange for the insurance money. What wasn't explained to the jury was that Mario Willis didn't have this property insured against fire. He didn't stand to make a dime.
The jury was also told
Pause there. Okay, here's what you didn't tell him, and maybe you don't know, Devin. I'm going to help you here. The fire occurred in 2008. Mr. Willis signed the home over to his fiancée in 2007, and it burned. And the handyman testified that you had him burn it that time too. And over $20,000 in insurance was collected that time, even though Mr. Willis didn't own the home. And as I recall, and it's a recollection because I don't have the transcripts, your fiance testified that she didn't know that you collected the insurance. So it's quite probable that Mr. Willis didn't know it wasn't insured anymore. Because the wife, fiance, certainly didn't know insurance was collected, if I recall correctly, and I did call the former prosecutor. So you might want to put that one in.
Pattern suggested arson, but a later forensic study supported the accident theory.
Pause. Whose forensic study?
Yeah, who paid for it?
Later. It comes later after the original arson report. What you should know is the Metro Times that wrote about it, not Devin Skillion, not me, have the original arson reports, but I sat there and listened to the arson expert. Now, I'm not saying there aren't questions. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
This is American justice. But if you're going to try it through the media, you got to remember something. The handyman got about 2-3 years left on his bid. Yeah. They never talked to him. He won't talk to anybody.
He's got 2 years left.
2-3 years, and that's the end of it for Mr. Willis. So now we're going to the public. Yeah. So if you're going to do it properly. Please continue.
Also, in court, the prosecution said that Mario did not offer an alibi. But this video has come to light of Mario being interviewed by the arson team.
I remember you told me y'all went out at dinner. Yeah, it was that date night. Yeah, right. Okay.
This interview was conducted 7 months before the trial, but it was never disclosed to Mario's defense counsel. While Maxine and I sat...
Now. You might not know this, but you should probably know this. That Mr. Willis's wife testified about the alibi, so there was the alibi. The alibi was we went out for date night, right? Had some dinner. We went home about 12:30. Mario went out for cigarettes, some clove cigarettes to be exact. Now, Mario came home apparently, and she would have known if Mario had left because they got a house alarm system. Except there's a problem. Mario's phone is tracked calling the handyman at about 4 a.m, and the cell phone towers ping it across the street from the fire. So either he was calling from the pillow, but somehow a reflective mirror put it over on the east side and not Farmington. You understand what I'm saying?
It was across the street. What was across the street?
A gas station, and there's some footage of a truck that's been modified, right?
Enhanced, yeah.
Enhanced, modified, headlights, jacked up rear.
Oh, the car. Okay, I thought that was the video. Yeah,
that matches his.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
what are the odds?
So, nowhere in this report am I hearing anything as if you had read the appellate court's decision, 20-page decision. I read it 3 times yesterday. You're not mentioning cell phone records in this report, nor did you mention them in the Metro Times story. Again, there may be some valid reasons here, but you're cherry picking. Yeah. Let's continue.
The phone rang. It was Mario calling from prison.
Mario just happened to be calling while the news media was there. Was it Darian Dove, the guy whose testimony put him in the can? No, just Mario happened to call.
What are the odds?
Clearly, there were some mistakes in the prosecution, but
clearly
there were some pretty glaring mistakes in your defense too, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pause. Not according to the appellate court. We'll move on.
Unfortunately, my trial attorney, he felt like his exact words to me, Mario, this is going to be a formality at best.
In fact, during Mario's appeal, his attorney pointed to several instances of ineffective assistance by his trial lawyer. Now, Mario knows it is hardly unusual for an inmate to proclaim his innocence.
You're right. Everyone, when I came in here, I said, oh my God, everybody's innocent. No one did it.
Time. Pause. Devin just said it's hardly unusual for an inmate to proclaim his innocence. So half of this thing here is the guy that put Mario in prison tried to proclaim his innocence, about 10 years ago, and hadn't said boo since. So come on, that's what the appellate court said.
So I said, okay, we have to show this through evidence. Just as I talked to you, sir, I would compel you to look through everything.
That's fairly easy thanks to Maxine's exhaustive work in her home and online. She sees a lot of similarities in Mario and Walter Harris. In fact, it's hard to miss. And her heart breaks for Harris's...
Hey, what? That's crass.
I don't like that.
Okay, the man on the left is accused of murdering the man on the right, and we're doing some treacly shit. It's hard to miss the comparison. Yeah. Does anybody in this room agree with doing something like that?
No.
What is this?
No.
Some ham-handed... What's with the heartstring pulling? Like, don't do that.
Yeah. That's bad.
Oh, my God.
Wife, Siri.
Well, you picked this one.
Quoted saying that if there's been anything hidden, any wrongdoing, any egos involved, it needs to come out. So we're both looking for the same thing, the truth.
The jury didn't hear the whole thing. The jury never understood that this was an accident because they had so many people in government telling them, no, this was a conspiracy.
Are you going to tell the public
They
she's
lied.
paying you?
What's that? Say that again.
Is he going to tell, well, this according to the Metro Times, Bill, that the woman that's being profiled here is paying you $300,000 for this investigation,
pretty germane.
plus the lawyer. Y'all want to call me, we can discuss. I was there. I don't remember you people.
Conspiracy. They lied. They manipulated the truth. They sent 2 innocent men to prison. This should not be.
Wow. I'm glad you did that. One of my big pet peeves in general is, podcasts or news stories that present one side of a trial when the trial already happened, where people hear all the evidence. So it builds a lot of support for one side without hearing the other side. It just stinks.
Here's where this is going. There's something called the Conviction Integrity Union at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
This is so weird. The unit can look. They won't talk to the prosecutor that tried the case, and they won't talk to the lead investigator. They're just going to look at this stuff, like shit like this. Mm-hmm. And they're going to make a decision. And then the county prosecutor, Kim Worthy, is going to make a decision one way or the other. So this has been tried, listened to by a jury of your peers. It was overseen by a circuit court judge. He exhausted his appeals at the appellate level.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go, there's something that exists that can erase
beyond that
American jurisprudence.
That's horseshit.
Okay, again, there could be some valid, like I don't have the transcripts anymore. There could be some valid points here, but to do it this way, through the media, and to leave so much shit out.
Well, because the other way failed. The appeal failed.
It did.
So now it's a plea to the media. I got to tell you, the fact that it burned down once, what are the odds that it was an accident the second time?
Well, the man was in there, fucking a streetwalker named Felicia that they've never been able to find.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That her name's in the back of the 911 call. Well, she might have just been at the gas station.
Huh.
He might have brought her along.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know, but why is it a press thing now, Karen?
I don't know. It's a good question, Charlie. But again, if in fact the family has engaged, Bill Proctor and is trying to bring some attention to it, they're doing a good job at doing so. I mean, but it will come down to the validity of the details that they're bringing up and out in comparison to that which was brought out earlier. I mean, so you can get public sympathy, but the case is not going to be determined by public opinion.
It's going to be determined by 2 women. Valerie Newman, who's the head of the Integrity Squad, and Kim Worthy, right? And if they feel enough pressure, or I know them both to be people of integrity. I do. I know them both to be people of integrity. And there's no DNA here. There's no sketch that a former deputy police chief drew for a 14-year-old murder suspect, right? It happened in here. There's nothing deep and germane and explosive here. Right? Mm-hmm. This is just calling into question through the media. The courts have adjudicated. I ask you, ladies, please do what you think is right. And I think I know what's right. And I'll leave it at that. Again, everybody's entitled to their day in court and their appeals process. But so much is left out. And try this book. I don't get any money off it anymore, whatever. It's not that. Book. Try this book. It's in there. And the outrage of that time. That's a picture of Walt right there.
Yeah.
I might have been there. This whole town was fucking burning.
I just don't want people to forget about that.
Right?
A good man died
That
doing
was,
his
that was
job.
that was a huge loss to the city.
Yes.
I remember that. It was huge.
And I will say, yes, everybody says that, right? The circumstances of his death. Mm-hmm. Again, if you show me something real and new, again, I want to say this. cell phone records. Yeah. Cell phone records. Stuff's been left out of that report that is so cockamamie to try to explain that. And here what else is cockamamie. Here's another, what's up with the fucking media? Dana Nessel took a, what do you call that? What do you call the super riche vacation? Super riche?
Yeah, you just said it.
Super riche. I mean, $9,000 a night penthouse, $10,000 catamarans.
What's that, Karen?
That would be Uber. That would be Uber riche.
Uber riche.
All you gotta say is Ritz-Carlton.
Are we mixing German and French?
Oui.
So Swiss.
Yeah.
So
We are.
Swiss. Right? And I'm telling you,
Swiss, yeah.
you probably like take your kabillions, you run them through the Swiss banks, and then you party in Turks Caicos. The Attorney General is taking a vacation with a prominent attorney with business before the state, and nobody's picked up on it except a senator from the great state of Michigan who's going to introduce legislation. It's not illegal.
No.
To take money from people with business before. They're all fucking
So
corrupt up there.
unethical, man.
But not the media, but Senator Jim Runstead from Oakland County took notice. He delivered this speech this week on the Senate floor, and we'd like to take you out with it.
Joseph Jefferson Jackson, nicknamed Shoeless Joe, played Major League Baseball in the early 1900s. His batting average was the fourth highest in Major League history. He ranked 35th on the list of 100 greatest baseball players. Yet no one remembers any of that. Joe is best remembered for his involvement in the Black Sox scandal, in which members of the 1919 Chicago White Sox participated in a conspiracy to fix the World Series. As a result, the commissioner banned Jackson from baseball after the 1920 season. So all of his great baseball achievements are forgotten. In fact, Joe is best known for only one single historical phrase. The Chicago Daily News wrote in a headline, "Say it ain't so, Joe," attributed to a child outside the courthouse when Jackson left the criminal court building. Several hundred youngsters were waiting for a glimpse of their shoeless Joe. One child stepped up and, grabbing Joe's coat sleeve, said, "It ain't true, is it, Joe? Say it ain't so, Joe." Joe replied, "Kid, yes, I'm afraid it is." The young lad sighed, "Well, I never would have thought it." The boys opened a path for the ball player, who stood in silence until he passed out of sight. And so it is with the disillusionment that comes to people with many public figures that we thought we could trust. For instance, as you know, just last week I indicated I thought Attorney General Nessel was the one and the only Democrat I might really be able to work with on some transparency issues here in Lansing. But now even that one Democrat's commitment is called into question. I read a Detroit News story covered by Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter Charlie LeDuff about her island vacation with a big-shot prominent campaign donor, Kelly Newman, who owns a law firm in the state. The pair stayed at the penthouse of the luxurious Ritz-Carlton resort in Providencial's accommodation at almost $9,000 a night. The Washington Liberty Beacon also reported that they also reserved and chartered the Ritz-Carlton's exclusive opulent sailing yacht for a trip that cost nearly $10,000. LeDuff reports the penthouse bill, the hotel confirmed, was picked up by the prominent Traverse City lawyer with overlapping interests with Nessel's office, namely in nursing home malfeasance and auto insurance claims. To date, we can't get any confirmation as to whether that host ever got reimbursed, and if so, when was that reimbursement paid? Was the big donor law firm doing any business with or suing any part of the state of Michigan? We simply don't know. So in the end, just like that poor disillusioned kid who had worshiped Shoeless Joe, We can just now imagine a little girl, a budding future attorney who worships Attorney Nessel, approach her and say, Attorney General Dana Nessel, tell me it's not true you were aboard the sailing vessel. Nessel, say it ain't so. Nessel, say you weren't aboard the vessel. And from what's been reported so far, almost 2 weeks old, not refuted, the Attorney General would simply have to lean over and say, yes, kid, I'm sorry to break it to you. It's true. Attorney General Nessel was aboard the vessel. Then we can all just imagine that little child staggering away, teary-eyed, muttering, I never thought it would happen. But that little girl would be relieved to hear that the Democrats can join me in ending this problem. For I have a bill that we will introduce very soon on the floor requiring disclosure of any money that nonprofits and other entities that are not officially registered to lobby must disclose regarding any travel or hotel stays that could be used to create influence. I welcome the Democrats' support of this bill.
I tell you what, all you up on the hill, vote for this bill. Why wouldn't we have such a law?
Why don't we have it anyway?
Because they don't want one.
I'm surprised to learn that you can just take gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now here's the thing here. Yeah, Mark, that's terrible.
I know. Well, I can only get in so I can only get in.
Okay, right there. Anyway, so here's the thing. Put it. Is it up?
Yeah, it was up there. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Nessel was out of the office, according to the email. She was going to Turks and Caicos the morning of the 24th, which is a Friday, and she didn't get back. You didn't see her in Michigan until March 30th, and it's confirmed by the big lawyer that she invited Nessel to Turks and Caicos, but she paid. We like to see that she paid. And this is from the Insta of Kelly Newman. This is aboard the Sweet Catamaran, right? Dated March 27th. Now, I'm assuming Dana Nessel wasn't left in the penthouse with her wife, that they were invited onto the boat. That would be tacky.
Yeah.
Like, we're rich and you're not, and we're going on the catamaran.
Yeah, they're better friends than that.
You don't get to do it. So we don't know for sure because Nessel doesn't talk. She's hiding in her badger hole. If she was on the catamaran. But Mark, if you could start zooming in to the skipper's one-way glasses. Do you see those reflective glasses? If you look to the lens on our left, do you see the brunette reflecting off of his... Mark, it's too much in. Okay. You're ruining it. You're ruining the whole bit.
I'm trying.
I mean, we'll fix it in post. There is a brunette there wearing the hair in the style of Nessel. I'm not saying in any way that's evidence, but I'm watching. And you're going to have to tell us, and you're going to have to show us the bill where you're on the catamaran. What are you doing, Mark?
I wanted to show
Yeah, now you can see it. I mean, you can see it when he backs away. It's too close.
No, now he's too far out with this dark space. And just get in
I'm
there.
experimenting.
Right there.
There you go.
Left lens, lower right, right in there. You got some splaining to do, madam. Because now what you've done, just going to explain how I work my attorney general office. You told the people you paid. So all that's left is show us the bill. Show us the cash check.
Sounds familiar.
Show it. Show it. And that's the program, ladies and gentlemen. We own it. No fake news here, Karen.
No fake anything.
Love you.
Love you too.
Oh, we got big news on Monday. Maybe. There may be some big changes to the show.
Uh-oh.
You might have to get cable. Or maybe not.
Well, you got to tune in to find out.
Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. And give us a like. Give us a comment. We read them. Jeremiah, were you commenting back and forth with the people tonight? If you're seeing something from my account, it's Jeremiah. It's a new brother to the show. He's handling all the interaction. We go over it.
I'm doing it on Facebook, so Charlie.
Oh, beautiful.
That's not Jeremiah.
We're trying. It's a There's a lot to do. Since what's up with the media? Why wouldn't none of them do it? Okay, some of you. Just keep a sense of humor, man. Don't be mean. And God bless Walt Harris. All that paid doesn't just get to go away in a 5-minute report at 5:30. No fucking way. And all you police, fire that do it the right way, respect. All the hardworking people of America, respect. All the liberals out there, respect. All the conservatives out there, my mom's your leader. For all you pet lovers, pick up after Bowser. For all you cat lovers, I'll see you in kitty heaven. Good night.